All right, today we're going to be doing some climbing basics, just, limb walking, some redirects, and, we'll dip into a few other things, swings, controlled swings. It's not going to be advanced climbing. It's just basics, small tips and tricks to help to get you out on limbs and get to where you need to go for the work that needs to be done. So the first thing we're going to do is a limb walk. We're going to go down. I'll probably just jump onto this limb down here, kind of rappel down to this limb here, and then we'll continue the video. I'll show you guys how to get out. A few important things to take into consideration when you are doing limb walks. So when limb walking, have a little bit of slack in your rope here so you can get out there. And then another thing too is you want to make sure you have your tie-in set, the safest and the highest, most central, sometimes, not always, as possible, depending on what you're doing. Um, in this case, mine is tie-in is probably about 5 feet below the camera, and we're gonna just go out onto this limb here. Very basic limb walk. The angle here is probably less than 45 degrees, and you can keep going and going and going. So that's why it's important to have a nice tie-in. The first tip I would say is work against your tie-in always. If you're trying to work, technically, because my tie-in's more on the left, camera right, it's going to be a bit more difficult. Sometimes it's okay, to do it. Sometimes it's more comfortable. That's what it normally is. You do these things, you get out, you struggle, you learn, and then you kind of get the hang of how to do these things. You learn from your mistakes. But just some things to take into consideration that I see some guys still doing today. So, in this case, my tie-in is a little bit to the left of me, so I'm working against my tie-in, not with my tie-in. So again, tie-in's just a little bit to the left and I'm working against it. So I'm leaning into it and I'm just gonna give some slack out and keep making my moves. And eventually you'll wanna, lanyard off. Take some of these suckers out, there we go. Just to keep you from going from a swing back into the main stem. And you can always use your lanyard to your advantage as well. So I'm working against my tie-in. I've set my lanyard. I can step up here, lean a bit out, feet a bit out as well. Pull myself in. And just keep going. Before you pull your lanyard off and you're gonna reset it out, you can always just readjust it, make sure you're comfortable in a nice sturdy position. Now the same for coming back in. You want to work against your tie-in, not with it. You'll go for a hell of a swing. Keep that tension on the rope. Load right into your tie-in. And lanyard your way slowly back in. Advance this back. Feed your lanyard out. There we go. Now I'm comfortable, not too much tension. Take up some of the slack. Look at this. Beauty. Depending on the size of the limb, you might have to do this a few times. Look at this. Beautiful. Nice, clean. Rope organization is huge. Rope management, rope management, rope management. And then just manage your rope back in. You could stay balanced, a little bit of like a Jack Sparrow. Right back in. Awesome. here we are. Just a bit above my tie-in, not the greatest, but we're gonna set our redirect point. Technically, we could just probably slip through this limb here, this crotch where my foot is, or this one where my left foot is, but we're gonna set a sling and a beaner right here, come straight down, so we can then continue on this limb out where we need to be. So by doing that is, grab a sling, grab yourself a nice carabiner that has like a nice opening here. It's got lots of space, you know, steel carabiner, aluminum. This one's real nice, pear shape. Kind of brings them down here and keeps the load tight up here with the sling. Find the best sling that's gonna fit the limb. So I'm gonna say a black sling. Yeah, so this one, it might not be black, you know, blue will do or any other color will do, but it's nice to keep it nice and tight like this. And this is where we're gonna take our slack and our rope with our lanyard on. Tuck the sling away, like that. Now we're gonna take the slack and our rope here, like this. And we're gonna open that carabiner up, drop it in, like that. Now organize it up. Looks good, not super twisted. Then we're gonna come against it, loosen off our lanyard, and swing in, like such. So now, we've got our redirect right there. We can unclip our lanyard. There we go, sorry. And away we go, straight down. Look at that. And this will allow us, with the new point there, to get out to where we need to get, which would be, and you would work it like any other. You could do the koala all the way down, get right underneath your tie-in or your redirect. And this is where you'll need to climb the rope back up. So I've got my foot ascender on today. We'll open that up, put that in, close it up. And then try to get to your carabiner with your redirect as close as possible. Lanyard off. What you're going to essentially do now is take the load out of the redirect. So, load into your lanyard a bit. Got my redirect back. A nice controlled return. So now we're going to be doing some controlled swings back in. I'm pretty much on par with my tie-in right now, and I don't really want to climb too much further down. So what I'm going to end up doing is taking some slack in the rope, making sure your rope is nice and clean down there. Rope management is absolutely key. And we're going to pull some slack. Like such. So now, with my rope tension like this, I can let off my lanyard, hold the end of my tail of my rope here, might come out of frame, but now I can slowly beat myself back in like this from where I was, and And this is why rope management is absolutely key, because if it's caught down there, you're gonna have to fight your way all the way back over there to free up the tail end of your rope. Nice and controlled, right at the main stem again. Okay, so next we're gonna do a natural crotch redirect. So we're gonna be doing this as the same thing as we did with the carabiner. This one's gonna go straight down. I'm gonna show you how to drop down through these natural crotches and also come right back up through them. We'll start by getting on top of the crotch here. We're gonna lean back into it. We're gonna give ourselves some slack down here. So you're gonna lean back into the crotch like this and let yourself in. And you can come straight down with the redirect. There we go. You can also do a controlled fall in, but if you give yourself the slack, then you can come down nice and smooth. Now, climbing the rope again with your foot ascender, which I have on, or foot locking, like this. This is why it's important to drop the slack through, because now you have a working tail end to come back up through when you're done whatever you need to do. All right, so coming back up through the crotch, we're leaning back, just like we were. Get your foot in there, and you're gonna keep climbing through, just like that. So now we're gonna do some descending and a little bit of swinging, bouncing around the tree. Knowing when to climb the rope and when to climb the actual canopy itself. So we can start with this limb. I'm gonna do a little jump and rappel at the same time onto this limb. And it's always controlled. You always want to have a controlled descend onto these limbs, especially if you're running mechanical press sticks. They're very, very slick, and you don't want to glaze your rope too much. So now this one's very little descend. I don't even think I'm going to need much descend on it. So what I'll do is I can line myself up a little better. And what I'll end up doing is overhanding the rope and landing where I need to be. And same goes with this side. Lean out. Now we're going to come back up, ascending the tree. It's important to know when to climb the rope and climb the canopy. So I'll tension the rope up. I'm on my tippy toes. I'm going to land in this crotch instead of having to go back to the stem, down and back up. Easy as I'm going to overhand the rope. Land into the crotch from where I was. Tension the slack. Look at this. We're on this limb already. Tension the slack. Just like that. And we are climbing the tree. So I'll do this once more. Okay guys, we went over a few things in the tree. You know, we did some limb walks, we did some swings, we did the redirects. Hopefully you guys learned some of those basics of how to move around the canopy of the tree and know when to climb the rope and know when to climb the canopy. It's super useful to know. You don't want to just get stuck to knowing how to spur a tree or just how to climb a rope or just how to climb a canopy. When you can work all three of those components together, it makes the tree climbing the experience so much better, less stress, you know. Knowing this stuff in your tool bag is super important. You know, every tree is different, so this stuff is extremely handy to know. Um, we'll get into some more advanced stuff like SRT later on, but right now we're just covering some basics. I'm not going to go too in depth, but hopefully you enjoyed that video.